Good morning, Sunil. Continuing with our leadership traits discussions, we covered something called simplicity, focus, big picture, communication, improvement orientation, and so on so far. Today, we can talk on a subject which is most relevant today called digitalization. Most of us, especially people like us, would remember the first journey of automation in operations. It started with what you call computerization. Way back in 80s, this concept of computerization has started in almost all companies, but largely to replace manual transactions and manual analysis with computer analysis. So you would recollect that there used to be computer departments, computer centers, or various names it used to be called. And they used to convert manual processes into computer processes. And some of them are like, salary processing. Then slowly it moved up to things like production planning, sales, accounting. Largely it was in such functions. I think from there, things have moved further because many companies initially had their own standalone computer systems, which was you developed a software and your computer center department would develop that. And that was a summation of all the best brains that the company had, best idea of what could be the best processes that are possible for these transactional departments. And therefore, the sigma of all best brains in that company would sit across, maybe with a consultant or in-house, would develop a program to largely, as I said, to replace the manual transactions with computer transactions such that the whole thing becomes faster, more efficient, and quite accurate. From then, slowly we moved in 90s into the next step, what is called, the ERPs which have started coming into the country. Here, the thing is that some of these ERP systems, you would recollect things like SAP, for example, is said to be the sigma of all the best practices across the world. That means in terms of accounting, in terms of materials management, in terms of planning, in terms of production planning, in terms of sales, in terms of realization of the receivables from the customers, all these together. And various companies in various sectors had different practices. And this SAP is supposed to have brought all those best practices into their systems, and they would keep upgrading from time to time. And advantages, as in the late 90s, which these people have argued, and since I was also part of some of these meetings, they argued saying that in your current system, it is the best of what your company can do, but what we are offering is a sigma of all the best practice across the world, and therefore you will become more efficient and more standard. There'll be standardization of processes and all that. And also, I remember significantly they had said that you only have to do a data entry at only one place, and that'll go and sit in all the systems. Because very often in the earlier homemade systems, you develop some systems first, and to go to the next one. So you would have a production planning system separately developed, maybe accounting software was different. So it was different. Here it is said it's an integrated system from end to end, and we have these modules to offer. And definitely it significantly improved the efficiencies across the whole manufacturing and business processes from end to end. No doubt about it, and they have got picked up very well, though initially There's a lot of resistance because of the high cost. But slowly people have realized that it's best to go to some of these well-tested softwares. So I would distinctly remember that it was a big thing that time. A lot of people used to get trained in SAP, and then it was a good opportunity for a lot of the IT professionals to get acquainted with these, and it also gave a flip to the IT industry at that point of time. So coming back, therefore, in my discussion, first we talked about computerization, then the same computerization is expanded with the more efficient processes and more integrated processes. It still means that what we have done so far is purely transactions which are manually done are converted into computer systems and improved further in terms of integrating single entry and end-to-end system, but it is still data processing only, in my opinion. And the various reports these new softwares were throwing up were all mostly, mostly to give alerts to the employee, alerts to the managers, alerts to the engineers, alerts to the officers, to see that they take right decisions. But the decisions still have to be made by the people. Here I pause a bit and go to something which is I'm familiar, and some of you will also be familiar who work in process industry. In process industry, most of the processes are controlled by a centralized computer. It'll have the software, which is an optimized software, and it would control based on the feedback loop that they have in terms of various parameters, like it could be temperature, pressure, weight, and many such things, And based on that, the centralized computer will issue instructions to various equipment to either speed up, to speed or reduce the speed. It could be conveyor belts, it could be amount of fuel flow, all that. And therefore, most of these process industries are run very efficiently because the instructions are coming from the optimized software. The software which will give optimized instructions. But here again, this is a software, this is an automation which controls machines. The decisions are given to the machines that, yes, you speed up or bring down your speed or all that, something of that nature, or stop one particular equipment in case somewhere, some temperature is going beyond the limits. So I think this concept that there would be a central software, I'm using the word software because that's what I know, but it could be any new word that people may like to choose, software controlling the decisions to be made in the equipment there. Imagine a situation where such decisions of the employees in their process are also done by a software, and that is an optimized software. That means the software continues to optimize the operations. Then I think it will take us from what we are, where we are taking decisions supported by a software or various reports that are coming from software, to move into a situation where all the decisions are done by the software, even and instructions are given to the employees. I think this is a thought which has come up in the last few years, and many companies have started moving in, especially for the mundane type of work, where the operator or the person concerned or the employee concerned, he does not decide anything. He simply follows the decisions which are coming from the software, and that software keeps on getting improved so that there is always an optimal instruction which comes to the employee. I think this thought was first picked up by some of these companies which are doing deliveries like Flipkart or Amazon type of companies, where I believe, and this is what I heard, so therefore I'll quote from the Flipkart senior person whose lecture I happened to hear sometime five years ago. What he says is that the multiple deliveries they have to do each day, and there are multiple warehouses, and they want to. Their objective is obviously to reach the end customer in time and the fastest. To start with, first, number one. Number two, they would like to optimize the complete resources that they have, which is in terms of the delivery boys. And there is very, very dynamic situation in terms of the traffic and the distances to be traveled and all that. So I believe that they have set up a big, if you can use the word black box of software. And each delivery boy, when he turns up at 8 o'clock to his warehouse, will get a clear instruction on a piece of paper as to what are the things, which are the places, what are the boxes he has to pick up and deliver. Well, I think that is not very difficult because we keep doing it in our regular operation. But what it does is, depending on that software does is, depending on what are all to be delivered that day and at various locations in the city, it groups a person-wise, number one. Number two, it'll clearly tell him that this is the sequence of your delivery. And I'm told that he's continuously monitored the way where he's traveling, and he'll continuously keep getting instructions based on what is the traffic situation in each place, each junction. So each time he'll keep on getting instruction as to which is the road he should take, which is the junction he should cross, if there is any change in the sequence of delivery, and whether he has delivered. And once the moment he delivers, they get a feedback. And continuously, it is continuously optimized, to see that the entire operation is very, very efficient. I am initially was not very sure, but what the gentleman says is the productivity of these people has simply gone up because of this. Because otherwise, a person, a delivery boy, he wants to deliver in Jubilee Hills. I'm just giving an example of Hyderabad, and then go to Banjara Hill, then go to Masab Tang, then go to, then he keeps going based on his knowledge as to what are his expectation of what is the traffic situation in those roads at that point of time. But if you're going to have a real-time traffic situation, which is being fed, instead of that guy deciding whether I go take this road, I go here first, is the software which would decide. Therefore, the productivity drastically, I believe, has gone up. And this is how they operate in their system. Well, what does it mean then? It means that all the mundane activities, all the mundane decisions are made by an algorithm, a software, which is backed up by the real-time data. And the thinking people will continue to work on how to optimize, improve the service level, improve the software that they have, bring in customer feedback into it, and how do we deal with the competition, all that. And they do not waste time on mundane type of decisions, right? So this is what I think is a future digitalization is going to be. And some thoughts which possibly, I had, I also made some attempts during my tenure on a shop floor, manufacturing type of situation, operations type of situation. For example, if all the items which are in your bill of materials are tagged and, sensors attached to it, RFID control is there, there's a plan that you don't plan to assemble an equipment as an example. Okay, you will not be able to start that assembly. The power will not get switched on unless that machine is able to scan and see all the materials required for the assembly are within that 1 meter range, 1 meter circle. And that being there's a bill of material. The bill of material will be verified with the tags, RFID tags available in that 1 meter. And after confirming that all the items are there only, then the assembly can actually start, because that's the only way. If you see any assembly shop, and the reason they give for low productivity will always be material not available, shortages, and all that. If the company decides that I'll not do any assembly I'll not do any assembly unless all items are available and they're all placed in less than 1 meter radius, and then only the machine will allow you to assemble. I think that's an ideal situation, and that's what we have to move to. That's when the productivity drastically goes up. For example, we could have a situation when complicated equipment, and both for the sake of safety of the employee as well as the safety of the material, and ensuring that the guy who's operating has the skill. Imagine a machine, for example, having you have to go to the machine and operator switches on, and there's a quiz, and he answers all those questions which come in the quiz, and he passes that, then only he'll be able to operate that machine, right? So that the authorization that the guy who wants to operate is actually authorized, competent enough to run that machine. Imagine thinking of glasses. There are something of these augmented reality glasses which are there, and we used in our company very extensively, where you wear that, a person wears that and walks across the factory, or walks across the shop floor, walks across the assembly, walks across the products, wherever it is required, and it is connected. So the person who is seeing in his computer, in his office, elsewhere, will see as if you are seeing it. So that's how it operates. So in our industry, where a lot of visits to the customers were required to be there in the shop floor, one of our boys then wears that and goes across to wherever he would like to see in terms of his products, or he wants to just see the facilities. It would work very well. It's as if he's seeing it, right? Now, the question always was that in the past also we used to have videos of the factory and to be shown to the customer, but then it was a video, right? A video made specially for that, whereas this is live then and there as is. So that's how I think when you want to get your products inspected by the customer, and the customer can't come, and this has actually become a big hit during COVID times, because the travel was highly restricted. People weren't coming, and in that particular unit where we worked, it was 50% exports. People wanted to come. Normally they used to come. Now they can't come. So therefore they go use these AR glasses and see that, which will be helpful even in people movement, equipment movement, and all that. I know L&D's construction industry, they review their projects using such means. It's no more photographs or no more, it is actually live visible. So I think things have started moving. We are very early stage of very early stage of the digitalization. And in my opinion, therefore, for any leader to be successful, all the more in the future, we'll have to have the digital mindset. And this digital mindset actually now is not anymore speeding up the transactions. It is not anymore, making it productive. I think you should actually start questioning whether an activity is required itself and whether a machine can do on your behalf that activity. So with this, I think I'll conclude saying that having digital mindset is now very, very important in the current situation. And please, if one does not have, I think there's enough videos in the YouTube and other places where, and some companies have already implemented. It's better to pick up those ideas and bring in into your operation. There will be resistance, no doubt, but I think the people who will be able to push themselves through the people and the processes, and they will do very well in the future. So thank you, Sunil. That's all I have to say about digitalization. Thank you.